Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are looking at a truly monumental shift in the Philippine automotive landscape. We're unpacking how Francisco Motors is leaping, and I mean literally leaping, from building those iconic, loud, rugged legacy jeepneys we all know, straight into the silent, cutting-edge era of modern electric vehicles with their brand new Electron. Okay, let's dive right into this, because the emotional stakes here, they're absolutely fascinating. For decades, the Francisco Motors name has been totally synonymous with the rugged, traditional Jeepney. But the automotive world is changing fast, and this legendary automaker is aiming to reinvent itself from the ground up. So the big question we're exploring today is this. Can a company with such deep historic roots successfully pivot and capture the hearts, minds, and wallets of modern drivers in the highly competitive electric SUV space? So, here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We'll cover their historic pivot, break down the three variants, take a look inside the cabin, discuss the Founder Orbit program, their road to local assembly, and finally, some challenges and considerations. Section 1. A historic automotive pivot. Officially unveiled in July of 2026, the Electron represents the very first fully electric passenger vehicle from this historic brand. Just to ground us in reality here, we're looking at a 5-door compact, dedicated battery electric vehicle, or BEV. It seats 5 passengers and gives you about 450 liters of cargo capacity. So it really hits right at that sweet spot for modern urban drivers who are juggling daily commutes with, say, weekend road trips. Let's move to Section 2, the 3 Electron variants. So Francisco Motors went with a 3-tier strategy here, and honestly, the powertrain evolution across this lineup is super interesting. The entry-level basic trim uses a 54.9 kilowatt-hour lithium iron phosphate, or LFP battery, with a rear-wheel drive setup. Step up to the fashion trim and you get a larger 63.2 kilowatt-hour LFP battery. But the top tier, Deluxe, that is where things get serious. They drop the LFP chemistry for a massive 81.5 kilowatt-hour battery, throw in dual electric motors, and shift the whole thing to all-wheel drive. And naturally, those battery upgrades yield some massive jumps in driving range. The basic trim gives you an estimated range of over 400 kilometers. The fashion bumps that up by a full 100 kilometers. And that huge battery in the Deluxe, that pushes the estimated range to over 600 kilometers on a single charge. I mean, for a compact SUV, a 600-kilometer claimed range pretty much completely wipes out everyday range anxiety for sure. Now, those dual motors on the Deluxe also impact performance, bumping the top speed from 160 kilometers per hour on the basic all the way up to 180 on the Deluxe. But let's talk about pricing, because this is where Francisco Motors is getting really clever. The entire lineup starts below 2 million Filipino pesos. But look at that flagship Deluxe model. It's specifically priced at 1,947,000 pesos. Keep that exact number in the back of your mind, because it's deeply tied to the company's heritage, and we're definitely going to see it pop up again in just a minute. Okay, Section 3. Inside the cabin and safety. The interior on this thing is surprisingly packed with premium tech. As a driver, you're greeted with a fully digital instrument cluster and a really large touchscreen infotainment system. You shift using a sleek little rotary gear selector, toss in wireless phone charging, dual-zone climate control, and I honestly wasn't expecting this, a panoramic glass roof on the higher variants? With customizable ambient lighting and up to a 10-speaker audio system, they are clearly coming out swinging at the established global EV giants. But beyond just comfort, they're clearly focused on building trust with first-time EV buyers. The Electron comes loaded with a comprehensive suite of safety tech, stuff like electronic stability control and an acoustic pedestrian warning system, which is absolutely crucial for when this incredibly quiet EV is navigating busy streets. And this brilliantly illustrates their commitment. They're offering a massive 8-year or 150,000-kilometer warranty, covering the battery and major drive components. That's some serious peace of mind. Moving right along to Section 4, the Founder Orbit program. Okay, so remember that highly specific flagship price we saw earlier? Now, what's really interesting here is how Francisco Motors weaves its history right into its marketing. Their Founder Orbit program requires a reservation fee of exactly 1,947 pesos, and the entire program is strictly capped at 1,947 reservations. Why? Well, because 1947 is the founding year of Francisco Motors. It's just a fantastic, smart way to connect their historic past with their electric future. We do, however, need to clarify the fine print of the Founder Orbit program. As the company noted, this reservation is really an expression of interest. Actually, scratch that. Think of it more like a pre-order waitlist. Placing that 1947 peso deposit doesn't guarantee a final allocation, it doesn't lock in your final specifications, and it doesn't promise a firm delivery schedule. Basically, it just secures your place in line as the company gears up for its next phases. Section 5. The road to local assembly. Getting the vehicle to market is, well, it's just the beginning. The absolute most critical marker on Francisco Motors' roadmap is the year 2028. They've stated a firm goal of establishing local assembly right in the Philippines by that year. Obviously, this is a massive deal for local job creation and the economy. But it's worth pointing out that it depends heavily on achieving enough pre-order demand to justify actually building out that localized manufacturing ecosystem. Which brings us to our final section, number 6, challenges and considerations. When we take a step back and weigh the launch, the product's strengths are undeniable. We've got the revival of a historic Filipino brand, a highly competitive 600-kilometer top-end range, a ridiculously feature-rich interior, and a very reassuring 8-year warranty. However, automotive reviewers and enthusiasts have flagged some pretty valid considerations. For instance, the official launch didn't include the full, granular technical specifications for every single variant, and local deliveries and production timelines are still being finalized. So the crucial point here is how the market is reacting to these unknowns. Because the manufacturing partner remains unannounced at launch, there are very active online discussions questioning whether the Electron is based on an existing, undisclosed Chinese EV platform. Now, as of right now, these points remain topics of public discourse and speculation rather than confirmed technical disclosures. We're impartially reporting this debate because, well, it's a really significant part of the current conversation surrounding the vehicle. In response to this discourse, Francisco Motors is placing a really heavy emphasis on its distinct branding and its proprietary software ecosystem, meaning the digital interface is designed specifically for the local Filipino market. They're strongly positioning the Electron as a distinctly Filipino venture, with a rock-solid, long-term commitment to local manufacturing, regardless of early supply chain origins. Ultimately, getting the vehicle revealed is just step one. The long-term success of the Electron is going to depend on a few core factors. First, real-world performance. Does it actually hit those impressive range numbers on the street? Second, maintaining pricing competitiveness as the broader market evolves. Third, providing robust after-sales support alongside the continued growth of local charging infrastructure. And finally, of course, their ability to actually deliver on that 2028 local assembly promise. Look, the Francisco Motors Electron undeniably represents a massive milestone for the Filipino automotive industry. The ambition is huge, the specs are totally compelling, and the heritage, it's unmatched. But as we've just seen, there's a whole lot of work to be done before 2028. Will the Electron overcome these challenges and spark a true Filipino EV revolution? Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep following this fascinating company's journey to see exactly how it all unfolds.